Good morning and welcome to ABC News Ghana. This is ABC Headlines. I am KHADIJAH ISSIFU. Coming up in the headlines, the minority in Parliament has described the government deployment of troops to Jamaica for reconstruction effort after Hurricane Melissa as a misplaced priority and unnecessary. Parliament has approved a concession agreement for the construction of the Accra-Kumasi Expressway as the minority warns against abandonment of the old highway started under the previous administration. We have these and many more coming up shortly. Do stay tuned. Grateful for your time this morning. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at ABC News GH_. Now to the details. The minority in Parliament has called on the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Akujeto-Ablakwa to appear before the House to brief lawmakers on the government's donation of relief items worth 10 million Ghana cedis to Jamaica and Cuba. The relief package intended to assist victims of a recent hurricane includes bags of rice, mattresses, gari mix, cocoa products, storage tanks, and other essential supplies, with part of the support also allocated to war-torn Sudan. Speaking on the floor of Parliament on Wednesday, December 17, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyomarkin said the government must provide clear justifications for the donations, especially as the National Disaster Management Organization struggles with insufficient relief items for Ghanaians.
Regarding all these items that are being shipped out of the country, Mr. Speaker, yesterday we read in the news that some relief items were being shipped, and the military high command had gone to inspect these items before shipment. I've checked with my colleague, the ranking on Defense and Interior, as to whether or not the committee on this the committee has been involved in any of these. He says no. Mr. Speaker, I think that the major policy decision like this must receive at least the blessings of Parliament. We are here as part of the ecosystem in the governance of the country. It cannot be that the members of Parliament would have to be reading this in the news. And when we have ministers who are first to come and signal us of this policy, that look, there is some disaster, the hurricane that struck Jamaica, and Ghana has a bilateral relationship with the good people of Jamaica. As part of that, we are committing $10 million, $5 million in relief items, and list the various items that are going to be delivered. Mr. Speaker, if the ministers decide not to take this house serious, then what other forum would they take serious?
Meanwhile, the minority has described the government deployment of troops to Jamaica for reconstruction efforts after Hurricane Melissa as a misplaced priority and unnecessary, demanding full financial transparency and parliamentary approval, arguing that troops should focus on domestic issues like Baku and illegal mining instead. They criticize the lack of parliamentary consultation for deploying soldiers to both Jamaica and Benin, highlighting procedural issues and urging resources toward Ghanaian hotspots.
To the news of Ghana sending troops to Benin, and these troops that are committed to some undertakings in Benin ought to have come to the attention of Parliament for prior approval. Today we also have woken up to the news of government sending troops, military troops, to Jamaica to assist on some humanitarian grounds and some reconstruction undertakings. We don't have any problem with the principles of assistance to these countries we have mentioned. However, the procedures that should have been followed and the due process of consulting this august house, this Parliament House, in such decisions for us to be able to interrogate, to ensure transparency in the modalities, the framework, even the various costs that the state will incur, how long all these decisions taken will persist. Certainly when they sought to buy helicopters, they had to consult Parliament. So how come when you want to deploy troops to Benin, you do not consult Parliament? When you want to deploy troops to Jamaica, you do not consult Parliament. What are they hiding within this process? Sending troops to Benin, we need to understand which protocols under which this deployment is going to be undertaken, how many troops are going to be sent, how long this operation is going to be undertaken, and what is the cost to the state? How much is it going to cost the state for these troops deployed to Benin that will be incurred as a result of this decision? We have to ask all these questions. We are demanding answers from the Minister for Defense, from all the relevant agencies who took this decision. They are misplaced priority, and we cannot watch on unconcerned for the taxpayers' money to be misused in very misguided deployments, and they do so without regard to the citizenry.
Still in Parliament, the minority in the House has called for the immediate resignation or removal of the Minister for Land and Natural Resources after what it describes as the inconsistent and contradictory handling of the controversial lithium mining agreement that was laid before Parliament and later withdrawn. The minister's conduct, according to the caucus, raises serious concerns about ministerial responsibility, credibility and standards of governance, particularly after the minister had previously assured Parliament that all requirements for the agreement had been fully met.
It is neither reasonable nor acceptable to assure Parliament that consultations have been concluded, only to later rely on insufficient consultation as justification for a reversal. It is this inconsistency between what Parliament was told and what has now been conceded that lies at the core of our concern. Lithium is a strategic mineral with far-reaching implications for Ghana's industrialization agenda, energy transition, youth employment prospects, environmental protection, and intergenerational equity. The management of such a resource demands clarity, consistency, and foresight. The minister's erratic handling of this matter has undermined public confidence, weakened Ghana's negotiating position, and exposed Parliament to avoidable embarrassment. In any functioning democracy, a sector minister who presides over such contradictions and uncertainty on a matter of national importance must take responsibility for his action. In these circumstances, the minority of the 9th Parliament in Parliament is of the firm view that the honourable course of action is for the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to resign or be relieved of his position.
Away from Parliament, but still on the lithium mining agreements, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has dismissed calls by the minority in Parliament for the resignation or removal of the sector minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, describing the demands as baseless and illogical. The minority in Parliament has been calling for the minister's resignation following the withdrawal of the lithium agreement, which they claimed contained inaccuracies and did not adequately protect the national interest. They accused the minister of failing to exercise due diligence and questioned his credibility after he initially defended the agreement before withdrawing it for further consultations. However, the ministry maintains that the withdrawal demonstrates responsiveness and commitment to transparency rather than incompetence, insisting that the outcome will reflect the collective input of stakeholders and benefit Ghana. Reacting to the minority's position, the media relations officer of the ministry, Parkwesi Shandorf, said the calls lack merit and should be ignored by the Ghanaian public, stressing that processes surrounding the controversial lithium agreement are still ongoing. And back to Parliament, the House has approved a concession agreement for the construction of the Accra-Kumasi Expressway with the Ministry of Roads and Highways 7 as the contracting authority and Accra-Kumasi Expressway Limited named as the concessionaire. The approval comes amid concerns over the deteriorating state of the existing Accra-Kumasi highway, which has been affected by potholes, uneven surfaces and poor lighting. Addressing Parliament, Minister for Roads and Highways Governs Abuja assured lawmakers that the project would proceed as planned, stressing that the proposed expressway is intended to serve as an alternative route rather than a replacement for the current highway.
The ECOWAS and the AU protocols say that when you build an expressway, you are allowed to charge a certain level of toll to recover the cost. But you must have an alternative that if somebody wants to go to Kumasi in 6 hours, he will also have an alternative to go to Kumasi in 6 hours. Those who want to go in 2 hours should also have the alternative. This is all it is about, Mr. Speaker. And I agree with my colleague. There's no road in Ghana that is more important than the road between Accra and Kumasi. And indeed, we are doing something that we'll be proud of maybe in 5 years. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, I don't think Big Push is bigger than any road project on the continent of Africa. Yes, there's no road project as a single intervention on the continent of Africa bigger than Big Push. We're in excess of $5 billion already. Which project in Africa is bigger than this? If you add the Chairmanfo Bridge and what we are talking about, indeed, my colleague said, this will be the biggest project, road project ever in the history of our country. And we are committed that we will deliver this project. The fear that will start and fail, Mr. Speaker, not long ago, people didn't even believe that Big Push was a reality. Mr. Speaker, today, as we speak, it's almost 8 o'clock. I can tell you that there are contractors on some sites working as we speak. They put on the light to work because they are committed to the fact that this country can work for the Ghanaian by Ghanaians. So we believe that this will work. Mr. Speaker, colleagues talked about a lot of things.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament has cautioned the government against abandoning the old Accra-Kumasi highways started under the previous administration. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, MP for Fuasi Ayurebi, Kojo Opon-Kroma, says there has not been any feasibility study done yet for the Accra-Kumasi motorway project, and government risks losing millions of cedis to the old project.
I want to share some risks that I think the government should pay particular attention to so that it doesn't become one of those projects that are left hanging. First, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that contrary to the impression in many people's minds that this is a project ready to go, actually, even the feasibility for this project has not been done yet. It is the first obligation now being contracted under this concession agreement. You recall when the finance minister read the budget, the videos were being shown, circulated. In people's minds, in the minds of my constituents, for example, this is a project that is baked and good to go. But actually, the feasibility is now going to be done. And so my first caution to the government is to manage the risks pretty well in terms of the expectations you create in people's minds. Else, you may have challenges along the way. Number two, Mr. Speaker, if you look at paragraph 10.2 of the committee's report, the government claims that financing has been ring-fenced for this project. I want to read, Mr. Speaker. It says that the committee further observed that provision has been made in the 2026 budget for a total allocation of 30 billion cedis for the project. In addition, the allocation of 13 billion 800 million Ghana cedis approved under the Big Push program in the 2025 financial year, which has not been drawn down, has been ring-fenced to support this expressway. Mr. Speaker, if the financiers or the persons managing the finances are informing the minister that this 13 billion has been ring-fenced, I want to inform the minister it's not true. Minister, in the budget returns that they brought, you recall we had this debate on this floor and I showed you the numbers. They have already spent 10 billion cedis of that money. Appendix 2C. When you come to the line on the Big Push, by September, 10 billion has already been paid.
In more news, President John Dramani Mahama has cut sword for the oxygen city housing project in Ho in the Volta region, describing it as a major step toward reducing Ghana's housing deficit. He said the development reflects commitments by his government to delivering well-planned and affordable housing while ensuring balanced regional growth. The Oxygen City, according to the government, is an urban development being undertaken by TDC Ghana Limited on about 1,860 acres of land, which will consist of multi-story apartments made up of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, as well as roads, water and electricity services, a hospital, hotel, schools, markets, shopping facilities and recreational areas. President Mahama indicated that the project will generate employment and attract investment to the Volta region. President John Mahama has directed the Ministry of Local Government to initiate processes to upgrade the Ho and Hohoi municipalities into metropolitan assemblies as part of broader effort to promote structured urban development across the country. The President made the announcement on Wednesday, December 17, during the sword carting ceremony for the Oxygen City Housing Project in Ho in the Volta region. According to him, the decision follows the identification of Ho and Hohoi as urban centers whose growth now warrants metropolitan status.
Further good news for the people of Ho. I've directed the Ministry of Local Government to put into process the arrangements to upgrade Ho into a metropolitan assembly. Ho and Hohoi have been identified. Hohoi is also going to be a metropolitan assembly. There are other districts that are going to be upgraded to municipal status, and it will be announced in due.
Away from that, the government has endorsed the Boku mediation report by the Asante Henio Tunfo Setutu II and directed the immediate return of the rival chief Alhaji Seidu Abagre to Nalirigu under the authority of the Nairi. In an official statement released on Wednesday, December 17, 2025, and signed by the spokesperson to the President, Felix Kwachiofosu, the government accepted all recommendations in the report presented a day earlier, affirming the Supreme Court's position on the rightful Boku overlord. This decisive move follows a blistering rejection of the same report hours earlier by the Nairi, the overlord of the Mamprugu. The government stated that the report provides a comprehensive fact-based and forward-looking roadmap for lasting peace in Boku. That's how we wrap up the headlines this morning. For more news, log on to our website at www.abcnewsgh.com and follow us on our socials at abcnewsgh_. ABC in the morning comes up next with Abna Mante. I am KHADIJAH ISSIFU. Do have a nice day.